Hello YouTube, it's Liz, and as promised I have brought with me the 5 pros and cons of the Genki textbooks for Japanese and the Minna no Nihongo textbooks for Japanese. Let's start with Genki. Genki has everything that you need to learn the elementary level of Japanese. It should get you through level L4, I hear, on the JLPT, which is the Japanese Language Proficiency Exam. And it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 being the hardest, 5 being the easiest. There used to only be 4 levels. They changed things around. I don't know why. But everything is here. 2 books. And with 2 books comes 2 workbooks. 4 books total. And these are the old editions. You can get the new editions, which I have up there in the corner. Right there, that one. There's not a whole lot of difference. There's some outdated words, but I don't think it's a disadvantage. So you could pick these up. These are pretty cheap right now. I've seen them going on Amazon for less than $1. So snag them up if you decide by the end of this video that these are for you. Pros. Everything in 2 books, like I said, and 2 workbooks. There's lots of exercises in class. I'll show you. So you'll be going along in class, and there'll be these, 4 or 5 pages of lovely grammatical notes that tell you, how to do, I don't know, describing where things are, right? So you're going to talk about where the umbrella is. Well, look, you get a nice bunch of exercises in the textbook to do usually with partners, because this is usually done in a college classroom. But if you're going to self-study, just say them out loud, because speaking is important. Also, when you're ready to move home after class, or you just want some extra exercise, and I do recommend the the workbooks, lots and lots of good exercises inside. Lots and lots of work. Good for solo work, good for classroom work. I am going to be teaching out of this book. Grammar explanations, all in English, and you don't have to flip to another book to get them. They're all right at the beginning of the chapters. It's fantastic and easy. And I think it only does 4 or 5 grammar points per chapter, which, if you've done Tobira or looked at the Tobira book, it has 16 and 60 kanji and over 100 vocab, which is too much for a person to learn in 1 chapter. But that's neither here nor there, and not part of what we're doing today. The next thing is that there are some really great characters in these books. There is Mary, and you like Mary in the first book. And if you've completed Genki, not so much in the second. But Takeshi is a great character. Robert, also a great character. You cheer for them. You want them to be happy. And well, I won't spoil it for you, but, good characters. Also, one of the great things about the books is that the vocabulary is listed according to, I guess schema is the best way to say it. They're grouped together really nicely. So, for example, if you look at this chapter, it has nouns, and it tells you it's nouns, and then it has the activities and people and things and places and time, and it breaks it down like that real nice. And then over here it's got oo verbs and ru verbs, which right now probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you if you haven't studied Japanese, but if you have studied Japanese, it's nice to have them, because some things that look like ru verbs are actually oo verbs, and some things are irregular verbs, and rules in every language are tricky. Japanese, not an exception. But those are really nice. Really like that about the series. The Genki series, from what I understand, gives you 320 some kanji that you need to be able to do the JLPTs. Really handy kanji that you will use all the time. It's the Japanese government requires students to learn 2,000 kanji to be able to read a standard newspaper in Japan. The kanji that they pick out for you is kanji that you will see over and over and over and over and over until your head explodes in a mass of gross behind me on my books. Don't do that. Cons. One thing that I learned as a supplemental instructor is that the vocab is a little bit long, and students don't like that. Some of the vocab doesn't really fit into the schemas that they give you, so you'll be talking about moving to Germany and doing all this, and then all of a sudden they throw the word telephone in, and you're like, ooh, why do I need to know telephone? I'm telling you where I came from. But it's good to know the word telephone. Chapter 1 is a downer for this series because it teaches you time and numbers, and I get why they do that, because they want you to learn the hiragana and the katakana while you're doing chapter 1. I get it. It's a little daunting for students though. This is based on college life and school life, and so if you're not in college and you're not in school, this kind of seems useless. The grammar's not though, but the vocabulary can be. The readings in the back are kind of dull. That's just the nature of the beast. You're gonna find really dull reading. One thing that I dislike about the series, particularly in regard to teaching kanji, is it doesn't teach kanji by radical. That sucks, because radicals save lives. Not even joking. Radicals make kanji much easier to learn for foreigners. At least that's my experience. And then finally, there is no answer book with this series, and that sucks. And the answer book that is available is completely in Japanese, so if you do not have a solid foundation or somebody who can translate it for you, you are screwed. Sorry, it's just the way it is. Genki, drop the ball there. Otherwise, fantastic series. But if you want to check your own work and you can't read Japanese, you are screwed, my friends, because you can't do it otherwise. So you gotta kind of hope somebody out there will be willing to check over your workbook for you. I might be one of those people if you're nice to me. You like my videos. Next, I want to talk about the pros and cons of the Minna no Nihongo series, and the cons kind of outweigh the pros for this series. Not that it's not a good series, it is a good series, but, you know, everything has a pro and a con. Alright, so, this book, it does not have any English anywhere. 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 There's no English anywhere in this book. So, if you have a question and you don't have a teacher, that sucks for you. Unless you pick up the translation and grammatical notes in English. They do make the grammatical notes and all of that in different languages, so when you go to purchase this book, be very, very careful. There's lots of exercises, just like with Genki, lots of exercises for you to do. There is also a workbook. I could not get my hands on the workbook because apparently none of the libraries in the greater Western region has it. But yeah, so that's a third book that you've got to the series, right? There's really useful grammar in both books. So that's a pro I can give this one. If you know anything about Japanese, you know that if you have a book, there's a counter for it. If you have a peach, there's a counter for it. If you have a fancy can of Coke, there is a counter for it. If you have a fancy cell phone, like I've got, so cute, there is a counter for that too, and for remote controls, and for cups, and for pencils, and for paper, and for this thing. Woo! There's a counter for it. And this book puts them nicely all in the back. Genki's is a little bit spread out as it teaches you. It's mixed in with that chapter. Both books do have charts, but this one is the most complete chart. This has fun reading topics, but to get the reading topics, ooh, stuff is falling all over me. Here we go. Reading topics, writing topics. That's kind of cool. Genki could have put in some writing topics and some better reading topics. This has better reading and writing topics than Genki does. This one includes the answer booklet. Like I said, that's immensely helpful, having the answers around. Cons! It took 4 books for me to show you the complete series, and I'm missing the workbook, so technically there would be 5 here, and I don't have 5 because I couldn't find one, which is something I find you run into a lot with the internet. Some bookstores have them all, and sometimes you have to go to 2 or 3. That sucks. Also, this gets very expensive very quickly. There is an older edition. I am holding the older edition. There is a new edition, so you would think that it would be cheaper, but that's not the case. And this book is $12, and this book is $15, and this book's probably somewhere around $30, and this book is $20. That adds up pretty quickly. The Genki books, like I said, $1.99 on Amazon for the old editions. This probably should be used in a classroom, not alone. Not that you can't. If you're very ambitious, this could do very good for you. Another con, and this irks the teacher, the English teacher in me, is that it abbreviates the parts of speech. So noun is just an N, and adjective is ADJ. Spell it out. Spell it out. You've already spent the money. Spell it out. Finally, my last pet peeve is that you have to have 2 books open at once to do some of the grammar points. I find that very, very frustrating, and I don't like it. Both books give you great insight into culture and all the wonderful things that come with learning Japanese, and I recommend Genki. But if you are more ambitious and would like to try the more immersed technique, this is not a bad way to go. You can do it. I believe in you. I will answer your questions. If you have questions about this book, I will do my best to answer them for you. If you are using this book and you come across a grammar point that you don't know, I have fancy dictionaries behind me that can tell me what you might be looking for. And I'm happy to answer your questions. Other than that, that's all I've got for you today, so thank you.